You're on the agenda.
Yours and mine.
Good morning. It is now 11:15 a.m., and I will call the Sewage and Water Board Governance Committee meeting to order. Special counsel, please call the roll.
Director Kennedy,
Here.
Director Cole, Director Howard,
Here.
Director Thomas,
Here.
Director Scruggs.
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, thank you. We will now proceed with our two presentation items that we have for today with our Executive Director.
Okay,
Thank you.
good morning. The first one I'll present is a House Resolution 305 dealing with regional water purification. It was introduced in the final days of 2025 regular session, co-authored by several members of the New Orleans delegation. It creates a task force to study the feasibility of building a water purification facility to serve Jefferson, Orleans, Pluckmine, St. Bernard, and St. Charles parishes. Task force consists of 12 members. The first meeting was held on September 29th, 2025. The task force must provide a report with findings and recommendations regarding the operation and management of regional purification facility by March 15th, 2026. And the report must be provided to the legislative delegation of each parish and the City Services Coalition. So that is give you a general overview. I also have our General Superintendent with us, and if there's any questions, we'll be able to answer those for you.
Great. For everyone to understand, who are the New Orleans representatives on the task force?
There is a representative, Joe Threat is the mayor's designee, and then there's a representative from LDA, or from the city's Department of Health, that are the formal designees.
So there's no representative from the group that purifies the water.
And on, yeah, and on the land in question.
So are we,
So I think that's why we're here today, to get what information we have and have a discussion around this topic.
who were the legislators that introduced it?
So, I believe this is a bill introduced by Mandy Landry.
And I'd like to actually note for the record that Mr. Director Pacho is in attendance of the meeting as well.
So Mandy Landry did it?
So if you
Yeah.
look at this big packet, the very first thing on the top is the resolution, and then you can see Representatives Mandy Landry, Rowe, Hilferty, Newell,
I'm surprised at Mandy.
Willard.
I'm surprised at Mandy.
Yeah, I am too.
So there are a number of
Yeah.
on the delegation.
And at this point, is there any, I guess they're not in session, so there's really no way to change this?
Oh, I don't think there's any way to change it. I think we are, once again, this is a part of a theme that we've embraced before, legislation that we are reacting to because we were not a part of the process, unfortunately. And so this is where we are disseminating the information for discussion purposes. And so my question would be, Randy, Steve, do you all have any additional information about maybe what took place on the 29th or anything else that we should know about this besides, us just reading? Yeah.
Yes, Steve participated in the meeting. I'll let him outline what happened.
Yeah, while not a voting member of the committee, I was asked to provide a presentation on our drinking water system, where we get our water from, how we treat it, the pipe network, et cetera, as one of those 5 parishes that were there. That was the intent of the first meeting. It was a pragmatic meeting discussing how regionalization might work, how everyone's system works, and some of the things that came up were related to the interties that we have with Plaquemines Parish, and how St. Charles Parish, for instance, they have lines that run under the river. So I think it was a productive meeting. It was good to have everyone in the room. First kickoff, I think it's heavily focused on saltwater intrusion, and this regional plant, first and foremost, the impetus behind it is protection from saltwater intrusion. It would be in St. Charles Parish is where it would be located. So the next presentation, my understanding from that was to have the Army Corps of Engineers present to talk about the saltwater wedge, the sill that they install, and other mitigation measures.
We talked, so go ahead, John. We talked, you did a presentation yesterday on the purification plans.
Yes.
Are they aware of that and the timeline and the pressures that come from that as far as any other kind of?
We did talk through that, yes. I went into detail on the need for us to perform upgrades to our existing plant. I don't think there's any move for us to hold off on those things, especially items that we have to get done, where we have single points of failure or infrastructure upgrades that have to happen. I didn't get the sense that there's a push for us to put anything on hold.
Okay. You had something, Joe?
Just a question. Is it appropriate now to ask a question or make a comment relative to the regular session or legislative sessions in terms of where we are strategically in preparation for the next session, and to address the second presentation regarding the transfer of employees from city to state? Because my concern is, are we prepared? Are we looking at internally having representation from staff or someone that we consult with to prepare us and make us aware of what's going on?
Well, I think
Because
that's
we
part
seem
of
to be behind the eight ball.
I think that's part of the second presentation, and we can get it. I think we want to put this first one to bed first, if that's okay. But I do get that there's a common thread there that we'll address. But I think when we get to the second one, that might be the best time to pull on that thread.
Mr. Chair, if I may answer overall, as far as being reactionary, we want to change that.
Yes.
And so there have been discussions with our federal lobbyists, and we're evaluating how we're being represented at the state level, and to the best that we can find a way to be proactive. What we want, we've discussed as staff, what we want to do is be in a position where we're presenting bills, that we're aware of what's happening, and that we're helping to guide where the organization is going, and we're also able to have a voice at the state level. So we're looking at that, and rest assured, we'll develop a plan around that.
Okay.
Great. All right. Are there any other questions around 305, around this first presentation? I know everyone got a big paper copy, you know, appreciate the trees sacrificed. It's a lot to digest, but I think that for me, the most critical part is what Jamie alluded to. At the very top, you can see which representatives authored and signed on. And so if you have relationships with any of them, I think those conversations will bring a lot more clarity. That's what I intend to do.
Yeah.
Anyone else, or we can get started with the second presentation? All right.
Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay, second presentation is Act 384, Civil Service. In 2025, Representative Hilferty filed House Bill 190, which was viewed as a cleanup bill to repeal, I'm sorry, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Too many trees. Act 384, Civil Service. In 2024, Representative Hilferty introduced House Bill 593 to transfer Swibno employees to state civil service. The bill had two parts. The first one required Swibno employees to pass a civil service exam administered by state civil service. And the second part, it required the transfer of Swibno employees to state civil services by August 1st, 2025. During the 2024 legislative session, the bill was amended before it became law under Act 384. The act maintained that Swibno employees are subject to civil service exams administered by city civil service. However, the act also kept language that required the implementation of a transfer of Swibno employees to state civil service. This transfer language became law even though it was not the intent of the legislature, and that's a key point as we go forward with this. Representative Hilferty filed House Bill 334 to clarify the legislature's intentions. The resolution states that the legislators will work to repeal the transfer language. It also instructs state civil service and city civil service to not follow through with the development and implementation of a transfer plan. In 2025, Representative Hilferty filed House Bill 190, which was viewed as a cleanup bill, go right ahead for me, to repeal the transfer language. The bill failed to move through the Municipal, Spiritual, and Cultural Affairs Committee, and the legislative session ended with transfer language still included as part of the law. Even without the cleanup bill, Swebno is of the opinion that the transfer language cannot be implemented because current law still requires Swebno employees to pass a civil service exam governed by the city civil service rules. This effectively keeps Swebno employees under the jurisdiction of the city civil service. The current statute may also be unconstitutional. In July 2025, the State Civil Service Commission publicly stated that it has a duty to carry out the law, which requires the transfer of Swebno employees to state civil service. At a subsequent meeting, the New Orleans Civil Service Commission passed a resolution opposing the transfer of Swebno employees to state civil service. We are currently at a point where the State Civil Service Commission is enforcing the implementation of the transfer plan. I want to add, I think it's important to note that since last year, staff has monitored legislative movement on this matter and consistently reported back to staff that the move to state and civil service was, as noted in what I read above, was an error, and that there was a cleanup bill that was going to clarify that. Staff has consistently indicated that they do not want to move to the state civil service upon my arrival at Swebno. In a discussion I've had with employees, there's nothing to indicate that their position has changed to date.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Clarification. Has the language in Hilferty's initial bill been changed?
No,
Okay,
it's the same.
No, they passed a law.
so, okay.
And so there's an
She was
inconsistency.
supposed to.
Yes.
She didn't. She
Yes,
didn't.
there was it was our understanding that there was going to be, through the amended bill, a change that was going to clarify, to clean it up. And that happens in legislation. Sometimes you have several parts of it, several paragraphs, and there's one that needs to be corrected. It was our understanding, and it was our understanding, it was announced that that would be corrected. It was not.
But why didn't it get out of committee? That's fascinating to me.
Very.
That's a statement of some sort.
It's true, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's like saying we don't want to repeal it.
Right, right.
Okay, so,
So I'm of the opinion when it comes to these matters, and it's why I didn't go to law school. You guys get to do it. You know, I see what you say, I see what you do, and I'm leaning on my legal giants to let me know where we actually stand. And so what I hear from, you know, everyone with a law degree is that we have a bad bill that says do two different things, right?
let them.
And so, you know, it's a bad situation that needs to be corrected. I don't want to infer why it wasn't cleaned up. Just the simple fact that there have been opportunities to clean it up, and it did not happen. And so now we're wasting time and resources, you know, because something was not cleaned up. At some point, my opinion will change that this was an honest mistake.
Yeah, sure.
I have an issue with something. To me, whether we are in state civil service or city civil service is an issue that was raised under the people plan. We paid $250,000 to get an analysis done. They came back and their recommendation was to get out of civil service completely. Ghassan Corbin had told staff that he would not go for that unless they supported it. That does not mean to me, however, that we do not go back and analyze the other options. that were involved in that report, one of which was going to state civil service. Would that be better than being in state civil service? Would it give us the ability to hire the engineers that we're not able to hire because we can't pay them because it's tied to city pay? And so I think we need to go back, rather than jumping into a lawsuit that's going to work its way out one way or another, regardless of what we do. I think we need to go back and analyze the other options in that plan. And that's something I'm asking Operations Committee to begin doing. It's not dead. It is a board matter where we go on something like that.
I just want for clarification, my understanding is we're not in and not heading to a lawsuit as the board.
I thought we were
right?
putting something in to support a lawsuit. I'd heard that at the last meeting.
So the State Civil Service has, at their State Civil Service Commission meeting, stated that they would file a writ of mandamus to force the board into, against City Civil Service, to force the board to go into State Civil Service because the law states that we have opined that even with City Civil Service, that there's a conflict in the law. The law clearly states that the board is in City Civil Service. I think if we want to investigate whether or not another option of State Civil Service is amenable to the employees, because we did, through our last administration with Ghassan, told the employees with staff that this bill was going to be repealed. If there's going to be some investigation regarding that, I think we remain in City Civil Service until such time that that particular analysis is done, and that we can bring that back to the employees.
Yeah, so I guess where I'm trying to get clarity, we have the opportunity to state our position, but are we about to be, or are we currently named? Is this State Civil Service versus City Civil Service, or State Civil Service versus SWIBNO?
Nothing has been filed as of yet, so we don't know what the intent of the State Civil Service, but State Civil Service has made it very clear at their public open meeting that the board and City Civil Service need to provide some information to them, and if not, that a writ of mandamus would be filed against City Civil Service. So
We are not named in any legal document at this time. This discussion's taking
Yes,
place.
that's right. So we're having discussions. We can come together and decide what our voice is, but we're not prepping for
Okay.
until you all advise us otherwise, right?
So does that mean we do have an official position of the full board on this issue?
No, that's what, I think that's a goal from where we are now. That's a realistic landing place versus lawsuit. Have a position where we as a committee and then present to the board, the full board, and then the full board says, well, this is our take. This is our position.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah.
track? Does that track with you, Janet? That makes sense?
I guess I'm a little bit confused
Okay.
by what's happening. Are you saying we should go to the board to take a position on this issue?
I'm saying we're the governance committee.
Well,
And
it's,
so we have discussion, and then we go to our full board meeting, we can do a presentation on what we discuss.
I will just note this has been an ops committee before, but that's okay.
Why would a governance issue be in ops?
Because it was about personnel matters. That's where the people plan was.
So we're not talking about people plan, we're talking about legislation.
But this is about the people plan. That's my whole point. It's about I don't want to be making decisions on legal matters that tie into the issues that were evaluated in the people plan, which is how do we construct our HR system? The options where we get out of civil service, we stay in city civil service, we stay in state civil service, we do other things. And this touches on that, and if we make a decision one way, we could be foreclosing evaluation of the fallback options, at least one of them.
I hear you.
Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Yeah, it does sound like we're conflating 2 points or 2 issues. One is response to bad legislation, and another is a revisiting of the people plan and reassessment of the options that maybe were not completely assessed at that time. And maybe they do sit with two different committees and we're kind of conflating them at this point. What I'd like to be clear on is the first issue is the legislative point.
Yeah.
Right? And one, when we have something that says the current statute may also be unconstitutional, have we sought external counsel advice on the constitutionality of all of this? And we're-
Yes, but I would not want to discuss that, a legal opinion in an open meeting, of
Okay,
course.
okay.
But legislation, we normally present our legislation, our legislative agenda through the governance committee.
Okay.
And so unfortunately, we presented, well, Jamie presented to the governance committee previous legislation. Unfortunately, House Resolution 305 was not presented because of the fact that we were not aware of it until the conclusion of the legislature. We were aware of Act 384 and the other House resolutions presented by, that were actually, in House Bill 190, through the governance committee. We were informed through our lobbyist, as well as our Jamie, who handled the legislation at the time, that these bills were going to be repealed, and they were not.
Okay. And so just from my view, I have no issue with us revisiting people plan and other options and assessing and even going back to employees and getting their views and so on and so forth. I would like to understand what our next steps are with this issue.
I'm the same. The people plan, this is not an opinion on the people plan. This is the legislation. If we're brought back to the people plan, we'll do that in another committee, right? In ops.
Well, all I'm saying is I don't want us to be doing something where it looks like I don't want to be taking a position on a piece of legislation that we don't have to take a position on, that could be interpreted as a position on the underlying issues. I think Courtney described it really well.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to play out one way or another without us, so.
Is there a different course of action you're recommending for this committee? Do you see this, because what I'm hearing is you're concerned that this will infringe upon another opportunity.
My motion is to stay out of it. That would be my position.
Okay, well, sure.
If I may, and I understand what you're saying about the different areas, okay? But when you look at it as whether or not it's city or state, and I'll let David talk a little bit about what we found out, but I'll say up front, there are fees involved if we move from city to state, and our analysis is there would be an additional $1 million per year. And there were conversations that we had where we were informed that as far as the classifications that you have at SWIPNO, if you move that over to the state, there isn't a guarantee that you would have the same position or the same compensation. So those are things to be aware of and to be I'd leave it at that, to be aware of.
Yeah.
I think there's an analysis that needs to be done that brings in those kind of things, but that analysis has not been done, and that's why I don't want to take, personally, I don't want to take any action that can be read as a SWIPNO position on state civil service.
So my challenge is I feel like it cuts both ways. You know, if I'm not interested in fighting for something or preserving something unless we know it's good. I'm not interested in tossing something out unless we know it's bad. We know we have bad legislation.
Right.
That's all we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
On the merits of that alone.
Yeah.
Right? If there is, something in the people's plan that has value that needs to be presented, we should receive that presentation and analyze it on its merit. But this legislation has put us in a conundrum, period, and that's what we're here to discuss. And I think that, a common theme that we discussed with both of these presentations, we are in a reactive position again with bills. It just kind of undergirds what we know is going to be an effort with our executive director to help us secure better representation and proactive representation so that if we do have something that has merit that we want to move forward, right, we'll have that team in place before the next legislative session. unfortunately, we're here impacted by bad legislation. And the purpose of this meeting is to just discuss it, make sure we're all on the same page, because it's hovering around us and it does impact us. Knowing that we're not a part of a lawsuit, but we are impacted by this bad legislation. Not yet, sorry.
If I might add something to Randy's comment, the impact and the analysis that you're talking about, some of that information, a lot of that information is not knowable until the transition actually starts. Because what has to happen, and talking to the Director of State Civil Services, there has to be a classification, position by position analysis done at the time of transfer to determine a lot of things, but most importantly, whether there's a classification that fits at the states, in the state civil service system right now, or if something has to happen with the classification we want to port over and move in. And then you have to decide in terms of compensation how that fits across their system. So one comment that the state civil service director made when we had some conversations about this a month or two ago was that they would not guarantee preservation of salaries that we have right now when they move over. Now, you know, again, that maybe there's some that have a higher salary, but the bottom line was there was no guarantee of a preservation of the current status that we're in right now. So my only point in bringing this up is that, yeah, there's a lot of information that's just not knowable even through analysis until the decision's made and the transition starts. You know, and I think I don't think you can get to that point until a decision's made. So.
Who's pushing this? I mean, why is the state civil service doing this when the legislators have indicated that's not their intent? What?
That I don't know.
That's where I go back to those people who signed on. They need to be held accountable, or not held, they need to clarify what's going on. What's the intent? I'm sorry. Yeah.
So back to the resolution 305. So if we were to go back to the authors of this, the biggest issue that we have outside of everything else is the task force representation, but it also says each one, it's just appointing a resident. And if they can amend the language to at least say amend a resident that is a head or some type of clarification of specialty, or if, you know, or even the inclusion of the superintendent or something like that. So if we were just to say, hey, we need representation on here, because it doesn't make sense. If I get residents from everywhere, it's not going to tell you how water purification or anything. Those are just people. So if we could possibly, was my understanding we are not represented as, you know, the lobbyist is not like, who's going to push that portion forward to say, hey, the language right here, at least this portion.
That would have to be in the next legislative session. This was a House resolution that was presented and passed in this past legislative session. And unfortunately, we were not advised, the board was not advised of the House resolution. We did not find out, and it was not brought to our attention until after the legislative session had actually closed.
So our city representatives did not include, so this is something that impacts what we have, but our city representatives did not include SWIBNO on something that would affect SWIBNO.
Correct.
Okay.
Just a point of clarification on the question that we're answering right now, because I know we're talking about evaluating state civil service and so on and so forth, and my understanding is that is not the question on the floor, that we are not evaluating what the impact is going to be if we made the transfer. That is a different conversation for a different day.
Right.
Okay, so the question on the table then is how we respond to the bad legislation that's on the table. And I've heard one recommendation, I've heard two. I've heard one recommendation that we don't do anything. And I've heard a recommendation is that we take a position. And so I'd like to move us along. I'd like to understand maybe more about, not doing anything is clear. Let's talk a little bit more about the other option, if there's any other options that we need to consider.
I think when we hear that repeatedly the intention was to repeal, that, you know, that is our way of resetting,
Okay.
right? Bringing us back to where we were as if this was never written. That's where I think we would want to be, but again, that's why we're here to discuss.
Okay, good.
If I may,
Yes.
may add, I look at it this way. We have a bill now that poses in two counter directions. They had a bill that was going to correct it. It's a lot like if there was, academically, it's a lot like if there was a law that said you had to go 65 miles an hour. But then as it came through the process of legislation, it wasn't done correctly. That's two separate things. Whether or not you should go 65 miles an hour or be under a different system, that's a side issue. Did you academically go through the right processes and steps to develop a law that was constitutional is a separate issue. And that's what we're looking at now in the governance committee. I think at this point, probably the best place for us to be would be where the legislation was corrected as we thought it was going to be and as we announced and informed our employees that it would be, to get to that position. And so the board would have to make a decision. Do you want to have a resolution or some type of public statement at the next board meeting that we wish to make sure that the bill is correct? It's not so much whether or not what plan, is the bill correct? And then going from there is a fight for another day as far as what steps and where we go at another time. Two separate things. One, I think, is just very academic.
Yeah.
We can actually bring that to the full board at our next board meeting, and we can actually have that on the agenda as an action item.
The action item is what? I'm still confused by what we're.
The action item would be for us to do similarly what the City Civil Service Commission passed a resolution to put us back where we first started and also reflect the intention of Hilferty's House Bill 190 that did not get moved out of committee. And that is basically to put us back where we were in City Civil Service. And as the Executive Director has indicated, it does not preclude the board from investigating or taking forth through the Operations Committee and People Plan to evaluate whether or not the board is in city or state civil service.
Could we add to the resolution that any transfer to state civil service should be based on any future, based on a full analysis of the implications? So
Yes.
that we're not foreclosing action
Correct.
in the future?
Yes. And we can put that on the board's agenda for the next board
Help me
meeting.
with that language. Why are we addressing the hypotheticals? I
Because
thought
if we go to oppose when
we're
you
not
go out,
opposing a transfer.
as
We're
a
saying-
practical matter and in the public eye, you're going to be opposing the transfer. And so it's a point of clarification that we are taking this position at this time for this confused, questionable, and unanalyzed step.
I think what we could do is have two separate resolutions if you would like, but I think there needs to be one clear resolution as to where the board and how the board responds, for the simple fact that we did, the administration, as well as the actual Hilferty, did and plan on repealing this particular bill. It was bad legislation.
A lot of you go in a whereas clause for all I care.
I think there should be two resolutions so that we're
I
clear.
don't even care if it's a separate, if there's another resolution. I just wanted to be clear in whatever we do, that we're not shutting down why we're opposing this, and we're not shutting down the conversation about the topic. And that's my position.
And we could take that up that would be fully discussed at the board meeting.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
It's not time yet. Sorry. I didn't forget about it. Cool. All right. Any other questions from board members before we go to public comment?
Oh, we do have executive session, but we could take the public comment if you
Yeah,
like.
I think that would be appropriate to take it now.
Yeah, we have a motion to move public comment for this particular item before the executive session.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor? Aye. All right, we can now accept public comment. Do we have any before,
Do you have any cards?
any cards? Okay,
You have to fill out a card if you'd like to.
you feel that?
He said he filled it out.
No, I didn't fill it out. I will fill it out.
Go ahead and fill it out now.
Okay. We could win it to executive.
I know. Take him and just
Yeah.
give him his name and,
Yeah.
so please state your name and address. Make sure that you fill out the card.
Mubashir Maqbool, 5752 Bel Air Drive, New Orleans, Louisiana. Chair and the honorable members, the reason that 384 was put forth was because when the governor came into office, he wanted to take over Sewage and Water Board under the state control. And this bill was prepared by Hilferty. It went through, but unfortunately, because of our 500 million plus red, state shied away from taking us over. But in the meantime, this bill went through. I have extensive conversation with Ms. Hilferty, maybe 10 or 15 times. She said, she was, in other words, she did this to prepare the ground if the state was ready to take us over. But subsequently, that didn't go through. That's why she prepared the bill 190, HB 190 for 2025, but somehow or the other, she couldn't get it through the committee. And I spoke to at least 5 different legislators. They say it's not a protocol for us to override another legislator bill. And I've been in touch with the state civil service attorney also and state attorney general's office. Unfortunately, even, because the language is so cumbersome, it's not clear. It sound like a constitutional change, and any constitutional change has to go through the voters, like the bill, the Act 223, which really moots all of this movement, because that will take each and every civil servant, state or city or any parish out of civil service. And that is scheduled to be voted by the voters in April of 2026. If that pass by the voters, then every single civil servant in the state would be out of civil service. We'll be working at the will of our superior. So honestly, after speaking to multiple people, multiple, attorneys and constitutional gurus, they're saying if the board is not willing to, then honestly, we can get together some employees and we can file a constitutional change to this, but it would be moot. Because, come down the road 6 months or 8 months from now, if that Act 223 passes by the voters, then what we are fighting for? We all will be out of civil service. So my request to the board is to look into the legality of the language of this, because at the end of the day, Sewage and Water was created by the state legislature, by the constitution changes to the Louisiana Constitution. So it is really sound like the constitutional change which need to be addressed. And that is why even the state civil service wasn't getting a clear-cut answer from the AG's office. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McWoo.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments?
Just a question.
Sure.
Randy, where are we in terms of, a lot of us have contacts that we can make in terms of this legislation, but where are we in terms of a consolidated effort to have one voice speaking to whomever on what our position is, and not have various individuals making contact without a formal position from Sewage and Water Board or the board? Is my question clear?
I'm following you. At this point, it was a legal issue as far as the state and the government, civil service groups talking amongst themselves, okay? In all honesty, when I first began, it was because the direction they thought everything was going, we weren't directly in it, okay? So it was the state and the city, okay? And they're gonna have some conversations in the very near future discussing what's going to happen. I will work with the legal department and internally to see how we can make sure that we have a voice and we have a seat at the table as it comes out of that discussion. Now, the first discussion is between the state and the city, civil service. But as we come out of that shortly afterwards, to make sure that we have a voice and that our voice is being heard, and it's not just dispersed between a number of other individuals.
Right. And the
Well-intentioned,
same message is being sent.
and the same message sent, yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments from the committee? Great. I think now we can go into executive session.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
It's been moved in second.
Okay,
Need a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved in second. We're now in regular session. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now in regular session. And at this time, do we have any public comment?
No, Chair, and we're ready for adjournment.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in
All right.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
were almost past my 3.5-hour commitment.
There we-